Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another web development course for absolute beginners. This one, we're going to answer the question, what is CSS and how do we include it, and then how do we use it? Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. We're going to put a new file on our desktop with the Linux system. I right-click, New Document, and I hit Empty Document. With a Windows machine, you'll hit New File, and with a Mac machine, you can look at the tutorial that I created on how to create a index.html file on your desktop and the YouTube videos on a Mac. So we'll title this index.html, and I'm going to right-click and open with my gedit. You'll open with Notepad or TextEdit if you're on a Mac, Notepad if you're on a Windows. We're going to start off by pasting in our bare bones HTML document. Let's go inside the head here and create a title tag, title, and we're going to name this one, what is CSS? What is CSS? Absolute beginner web development. Okay, and we're going to go down here in our body tag and go ahead and make our H1 tag. And you know what I'll do? I'll just copy this entire title tag to save time and paste it in there and change this to my H1 tags. Okay, now let's grab some lorem ipsum text like we did before. But first, what we want to do is create a paragraph tag right underneath this H1. So I'm going to do that right now. Now let's go inside that paragraph tag, and I'm just going to paste some lorem ipsum text. This is just dummy text. And we're just going to go ahead and save this document. And we'll go ahead and double click on this. It'll bring up my Chrome browser. Of course, it'll bring up your whatever you use for your default browser. And let me bring this over into the screen so you can see it. And that's what it looks like. Okay. So what is CSS? Well, CSS, like we talked a little bit about before in the div lesson, whenever we right click and inspect, you could see that there are styles applied defaultly to particular web browsers. Like this is Chrome, so it has this set of values. If we use Opera or Firefox, it has slightly different values. In the HTML, you notice it has display of block. So if it's targeting HTML, opening curly bracket, display block, and then end that curly bracket. If we look at the the head, it says display none. That's because you don't want the head to display in a web page. That's all for bringing in scripts and stuff like that. But when we go to the body tag, notice here it says display block and has a margin of 8 pixels. And if you look on the left here, that's 8 pixels. If you look on the top, that's 8 pixels. When there's only one, then that applies to all 4 sides. And the way it goes is top, right, bottom, left. So for instance, if I wanted to edit this style, I could do that right here. And I could type in margin, and we'll go, let's say 0 for the top. And you'll notice the web page, it goes 0 up there. And then we'll go, let's go drastic, 22 for the right. You notice 22 coming over there, 22 pixels. And let's say at the bottom, we'll put, let's just put 5 pixels. But then on the left, coming over clear on the left, let's put 88 pixels. Notice how it pushes it over. Okay. So you can play with this all day, to try to get it styled. And notice what happens. It puts a line through this one. Margin block. So the user agent style sheet that's in my Chrome browser, I'm overriding it with these commands. Okay. And there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. Now let me go ahead and refresh. And because the first thing that we'll work with is this H1 tag. And we'll right click, hit inspect. And you can see we got display block, we got the font size, the font weight is bold. So let's say the first method I'm going to show you is called Inline Css Styling. Okay, so that means if we go inside this H1 tag and we just type style equals, and let's go ahead and give it a color of red. So it would be COLOR colon RED for red, then semicolon. And if we save that and we refresh our web page, you can see that it gives it the color of red. This is called Inline CSS Styling. So if I wanted to style the paragraph, I could go STYLE, and then I could go equals, my quotes like that, and then I could change the font size. Font size large, okay? And put my semicolon, I'll save that, and when I refresh the page, you can see that the font size actually gets larger, okay? This is called inline styling. All right. Now, for the most part, you won't be using inline styling. You will be using it, every once in a while. But remember whenever I told you to give everything an ID or a class? So let's give this a class. Class equals, and we'll use our favorite foo. And then on the H1, we too will give it a class equals foo. Okay, and if we save that and we refresh, everything's going to go back to normal because we haven't applied any styles to that. So another method is just using the style tag. Okay, and a lot of times whenever you're developing a website, you'll use this a lot just to go in there and debug and try to get something programmed. So it's the less than sign STYLE, like that, and then the closing style tag, just like any other tag. And we're going to go in here and we're going to target the div class of foo. Now, to target a class in CSS, we start with a period. CSS is cascading style sheets. Okay, and then we put foo. Now, you'll see a lot of people, they put div.foo. And you could do that too, but I like using the shorthand, which is just .foo, and then my open and close curly brackets. I always do that so I'm sure that I have that closing curly bracket. And inside here, I can make my commands. And let's do a color of blue, just like that. And then the terminator. So the syntax is whatever you're targeting. We're targeting the class of foo, and this is the command line. We want to say, okay, your color, we want to change the color, and then that colon is like 2, and then blue is the actual command, and then this signifies that we're done. We're done with this. Now, if it's the last thing on the list or the only thing on the list, you don't have to have that semicolon, but I want you guys to get used to putting in that semicolon every time, because later on down the line, you might have some issues if you don't, and we'll illustrate that here in a minute. So let's refresh, and you can see everything that turns blue. Now let's say that I wanted to give another command, maybe the font size large, like this, and I'll hit Control S and F5 on my keyboard to refresh, and you notice that it changes the font size. So they're all just set to large. Okay, now watch this. Whenever I take out the terminator or the semicolon, watch what happens. I'll refresh. Everything goes back to normal. Why? Because I don't have that terminator. But if I just do it here and I don't do it on the end one, everything is going to be fine, because this is the end of the statement. It's the last command. So if we refresh, you see that everything operates perfectly fine. But why not just put in the semicolon, which if you need to add any more commands, all you have to do is drop down here and start doing it. For example, if we wanted the font weight to be bold, B-O-L-D, we could do that. All right. Now, there's a whole list of things you could do on CSS in the commands. And in the article, I'll have links to different things that you can do as far as CSS goes. But the possibilities are just really, really immense. And to sit there and lay everything out is going to be cumbersome. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, in the next lesson, we're going to take a mock-up and we're going to start styling it together. So pretend that somebody sent you a mock-up of a website that they want you to develop. And then we're going to go in it and we're going to develop it together, because that's the best way to learn CSS. So right now I'm just showing you how to target it and how to bring it in. Okay, so what I want to do now is show you the final way that we bring in style sheets. Okay, and what we want to do is take this and just take it out of there. All right, and we're going to go back to our desktop. All right, and we're going to right click, hit new document, empty document, and we're going to call this one style.css. Okay, we're going to call it that. And if we're on our editor, you can actually go to open or file open, and then navigate to that style.css you made and load it in here. Okay, what we're going to do is pull whatever we enter into here into the head. And let me show you how to do that. And I'm going to grab this. All right, it comes in like this, link, okay, for link. So you do a link tag, and you can actually close that out, or just we'll close it out like we do the image tags, okay? And the rel, which is the relationship, equals style sheet, okay? And then the next thing that we need is the href, which is the source. href equals, and then the quotes, and then where would this be? It would be the path to style.css. And since index and style.css are in the same folder, in the same directory, all we have to do is do style.css, okay? Now, if we go to style.css, we can actually just start writing our commands. All right, so we're going to target foo, just like that, open and close curly brackets, and let's just change the color of everything to make sure it works. Color yellow. All right, let's go ahead and save that, bring up our browser, and we're going to refresh, and now we see that everything has the color of yellow. Okay, notice how we're bringing it in here. Link, relationship, style sheet, href equals style.css. So, and then this is the way that we'll be working with from here on out. Okay, but just remember, you can always do the inline like we talked at the beginning. You can do the style tag, and that's perfectly fine too. But bringing it in the head, it makes things a lot easier to work with. And we're going to be doing a lot of other things with CSS. So I just wanted to show you, what CSS is and how it operates. And we covered that a little bit in the div class. But now we're going to start getting into doing a web page. And I've prepared a web page, and let me show it to you. And if you wanted to jump ahead, you can. And this one is called sample.html. And if you look at this, this is what we'll be creating in the next lesson. As we have the first paragraph, here's our menu item, third paragraph, we have an image down here. If we go to the top, okay, we're going to be developing this in the next lesson. So you actually have an image of a website. You know what it's supposed to look like, but how do you code it? Okay, and this is real, give you some hands-on real world application. And so I'll be loading this stuff up to A1 Website Pro. So you could go ahead and try doing it yourself. I'll put this graphic up there, and then you can see how you do it. And then on the next lesson, we'll be coding it together. This will get you more familiar with CSS and how to do the commands. Because right now, whenever you're doing it from scratch, you just really don't know what you're aiming for, and you'll have a lot of, you could do this, you could do that. And it's good to practice that way. But the best practice is actually have a mock-up or something that you need to turn into a website and start styling it. Then that way you get to know the ins and outs, the nooks and the crannies of styling in CSS. All right, this is Max with A1 Website Pro. I hope that you've been able to benefit from this lesson. And we're going to go on with styling a web page in the next one. Any questions, comments, concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and like, share, and subscribe with your friends. Thanks. Bye.